what I would like to do is today to give some general remarks to the importance of surfaces and also the strategy of performance of the conservation work at the Duncan House. And finally, I would refer to a special example, that is the conservation and restoring and repair of the exterior and interior wall surfaces. The polychrome of architectural surface is not mere color or hue. It is the materiality of the surface which makes the color. Architecture without fabric does not exist in reality. We always see architecture through the materials and surfaces that limit the space. The current approach to architecture surface, theory and repair practice, this reflects also the theme of our meeting here, is mainly aestheticistic, emphasizing color and decoration and other features of design, while neglecting oftentimes the material base of surfaces. My paper wants to exemplify this with the materials and surfaces of the walls of the Duncan House. I would like to start with some general remarks concerning the importance of the materiality of a work of art and the current lack of awareness of the importance of the materiality. The Cathedral of Chartres in the Duncan House, this doesn't work. Is it a possibility that it works? Yeah, it laser works. The Cathedral of Chartres in the Duncan House, I believe, not only have in common the famous structure, but also the great importance of material and color regarding the architectural design. After cleaning and restoration of the famous stained glass windows and other architectural surfaces, you may see here that it is repainted and restored and with the painted joints. It's not very clear of Chartres. In other architectural surfaces, Chartres shows the splendor of the architectural invention. The material of an art, the materiality of an artwork is an essential basis for its expression and its meaning. I understand materiality as the manifestation of the historical, artistic, or other cultural characteristics that are embodied in the artwork. Accordingly, the matter of work of art is to be considered dialectically. On the one hand, as technology of matter with determined elements in a certain compound, of surface appearance, including color, structure, texture, and facture, of aging, and of deliberate and topogenic change. And on the other hand, as a matter of design, with a specific subject, purpose, form, context, content, and perception thereof. The thing, the matter, is indissolubly linked to the idea. It is not just an arbitrary character or sign documenting cultural ideas. We understand our monuments of architecture not only as spiritual messages, which are called cultural heritage, but also as a resource of technical solutions. A prerequisite for the knowledge of these properties is the study of its materiality and its technological and historical interpretation, primary professional responsibility of us conservative restorers. Preservation and conservation of the material substrate of cultural heritage make sense only if they are understood of authentic resource of historical, artistic, and other cultural attributes in designs, materialized in the fabric of the monument and its surface. If this were the case, our professional and necessary could just be done by artists, the preservation of heritage. In the dominant discourse of technology, only insofar is worth mentioning as far it can be called innovative. This can ultimately be seen as a devaluation of the actual technology used, as explanation of technology. It is what is the description of organized matter in the spiritual realm of innovative thought. To understand the significance of the materials currently in the works of Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, I may quote Grete Thunberg. Grete Thunberg reported in Czech language in her famous speech in Brno on November 17, 1967, their conversation in the office of Ludwig Mies van der Rohe on New Year's Eve in 1928. Ludwig Mies van der Rohe in 1928 explained to Grete and Fritz Tugendhat, I quote, how important, especially in a modern, so to say, plain and unornamented space, the use of fine material is, quote, at. Our Western culture, dominated by Christian culture, neglected the matter in philosophical as well in practical terms and gives primacy to the spirit, to the idea. And the currently growing emphasis on the evidence in cultural studies, and specifically in aesthetic discourse, has hardly been matched by a concrete scientific engagement with the material base of artifacts. The importance of William Morris and his manifesto dating from 1877 as one of the main founders of the modern approach to heritage is not very much known, at least not in the German-speaking countries. Taking on the tradition of John Ruskin and Victor Hugo, William Morris emphasized that protection should be replaced restoration and that the fabric of a building should be respected as well as the design. Quite typical for the prevailing discourse, for the prevailing consciousness, are the remarks by Henry Russell Hitchcock Jr. and Philip Johnson in their book of the famous exposition in the New York MoMA from 1932, in which they try to develop a canonical notion of the international style. They emphasize, on the one hand, the importance of the surface materials. On the other hand, they call plasterfacade, in the tradition of Gottfried Semper, as inferior compared to a more solid coating material. They propose an ideal elastic plaster which is available in many colors. Thus, they prove their lack of technical understanding, and simultaneously they reveal the future of the destructive wall coatings which paints containing artificial resins. We have heard a lot of it about yesterday. Any of the following four examples, two of them from the early works of Mies van der Rohe, show like the authentic materials and finishes are neglected during the renovation of the modern movement architecture until recently. You have here on the left side, we have the famous Fabus factory of Macrobius and Meyer. And there we have a detail where you can see rests of the joints as they have left, and that's the way they have been cleaned by sandblasting. You see the effect of the sandblasting. So the surface is totally green. Another example is the last building of Ludwig Mies van der Rohe in Berlin, in his Berlin time. This was sandblasted also, so the joints are renewed. The surface of the brick is just a new one. Another example, yesterday I referred to it shortly, is the Ulbig house of Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, and there you see in 26, this is just before we took that house, and the original plastering has been renewed because a restorer, draftsman said this can be conserved. I don't want to criticize the draftsman. This is a question of the aim of the profession. craftsman had to say that the plastering is finished. But therefore, there are existing conservative restorers who are restoring things which, from the craft point of view, cannot exist anymore. We found here in this place a last little piece of the original Terra Nova surface. And another example which has been seen by Grete Tugendhat and also Fritz Tugendhat is the house Mosler, and this has been destroyed in 2000, the interior totally, and some investigation has been performed by the University of Applied Arts in Erfurt, but only after the destruction. In the damages of the Tugendhat house, which occurred 30 years after the last renovation, had mainly three reasons. The main reason was the leaking sewerage pipes, who underwashed the fundaments, and so the terrace especially slipped down at the slope. And also another question was the lack of care, and finally the use of non-compatible materials. Also the interior, which has been renewed in the last renovation phase from 1981 to 85, was done with inaccurate materials like the PVC flooring and also the inaccurate textiles. Our investigations, which started in 2003 with a private sponsor, started with the study of the exterior facade of the plastering, and our aims, our general aims, were not only the original materials, surface and colors, but also the materials, surface and colors of later changes, significant changes, and the state of preservation of damages, of damage factors, of damage processes, and of the evaluation of damage factors. And we, as the damage factors, we analyzed those salts, gypsum crust, humidity, temperature of environment and wall, relative humidity. And what is important, that we tried also to develop methods, techniques of preservation and conservation and repair, and finally also for maintenance, later maintenance. Of course, these investigations were performed in an interdisciplinary way, using the specialist knowledge of expertise of climatologists, people dealing with stability, and other scientists and technologists. The investigations concern also of history, on visual and written sources, technical and scientific survey study methods. And we can say that our methods as conservators and restorers are investigations with all senses, not just looking at it, and but we call it organoleptic investigation. That means that we use all our senses, even the smell, and the touching of the ear, the percussion, and other investigation methods. Perhaps not so much the taste, because this would be toxic. What is important also, that we use, at least at a primary state, the survey methods, technological survey methods, like the electric conductivity of the surface, electric capacity near the surface, and also measuring the humidity of the wall, the calcium carbide methods. These are methods especially known in the United Kingdom. To understand the local craft tradition, the investigations included also a complementary study of other buildings in Bordeaux, especially of some pavilions of the famous Fair Exposition of 1928, celebrating the 10 years anniversary of Czechoslovakia. The investigations get scientific character only if they are documented. The planners, as usually internationally, as Thomas Danzel has described in the case of the Mathhouses of Dessau in Bauhaus, had not provided studies of this type. We funded the research largely with private sponsorship. And even at the beginning it was difficult to get into the house because they said we don't have, as non-Czechs, no license to work as conservators. So it was quite difficult to perform these investigations. Since 2005, our investigations turned to be the worksite turned to be very crowded, and we had up to 60 persons on the worksite from 6 universities and scientific institutions from 4 countries which were involved. Thomas Danzel was from the beginning was one of the professors who helped me there to organize this not easy workshop. The family archive was opened to provide all possible information for the architects, planning architects, and a lot of details have been found out by these private. I've shown this slide, yes, in our class meeting, showing that glass is not always transparent. So, and it turned out that our international meeting, Andres called materiality. I know that is not an English word. I took this word from the Bauhaus terminology, materialität, and I hope the English-speaking people will now accept this term also in our context. In this meeting, we tried to conference to be presented the results of our investigations, but at the same time we tried to collect the international knowledge regarding materials and surfaces of the architecture of modern movement. They were published in this book. And together with this meeting, the active members, the active participants of this meeting finally became members of the International Expert Group, which is something quite special because I don't know any big website of conservation of modern movement architecture where an international expert group was appointed by the investor. This time it happened. Besides the international members of 5 countries, we had also Czech members, 6 of them ex officio. So this turned out, of course, sometimes to be difficult. And of course, there were discussions why these people and not the other ones, and we didn't want to interfere in the decisions of the city of Brno, and we all have been very much aware that everybody of us had to use our international contacts and knowledge to put into conservation work of the two products. And it turned out that this work of the expert group was not just something like to protect from the city from bad currents, but that we really had the possibility to change things. We produced more than 30 recommendations, and most of the recommendations really have accepted, and the city of Berlin took a lot of money in their hands to pay these changes, which was also from the legal point quite difficult. So, and by the way, there was also a archive produced to collect all samples of original materials and also the materials of later changes, which might be significant for the history of the building. Just to this slide, just recalls you the fact that we have in this house only two features, the original surfaces. That's on the one hand the so-called onyx wall, which is onyx marble, aragonite, calcium carbide, calcium carbonate, and on the other hand the claddings, the chrome claddings of the villas. These are the only left original surfaces to be seen, but underneath later coverings we have a lot of original substance. Now let's turn to, after these general remarks, to the plastering of the exterior facade. And as you may see in the photograph, from the beginning on, the architecture is to some extent experimental. It's the first residence house which has been executed in steel pillars. You see here the cracks. I don't know if the slide is good enough to and you see also that the photographer retouched these cracks. We didn't want to have that. So this is built-in cracks. You may know also the case of Frank Lloyd Wright's museum in New York, the Guggenheim Museum, where we have also a lot of cracks around. I was a little bit surprised coming, so I'm not quite well organized. The plaster of the facade consists of a strong hydraulic lime mortar with sand from local Prachitzism pit, which was mixed on site. Its surface is smooth with wood board and thus quite coarse, and it is painted with a very thin lime wash. The pigmentation of the lime wash is composed of the fine portion of sand, Prachitzism, a sand pit 20 kilometers south of Cologne. The result is a color that is very close to the travertine used in the building. You can see the travertine. Due to the rough surface created by the smoothing of using a wooden board, the nature of the material is emphasized. The wafer-thin lime wash with lithophone, probably with a small amount of potassium silicate. You see a little bit coarse surface of this lime wash is pigmented with the silicate fine particles of local sand from Prachitzism. So they washed out the fine particles and used them as pigment. And at the same time, these fine particles have had a hydraulic effect with the calcium nitrate, and this produces the quality. I come back to this question. Due to the thinness of the lime wash, the color tone of the large grains of mortar sand remains something visible and create a natural-looking material color. You see that the peaks of the coarse grains of the sand, this is 1 millimeter, show their character. And you will see that the section that the sand has very colorful grains from red to white to black. The mortar was mixed inside. We proved some samples of mortar, and we had different sieve lines. So this is proving that it was a prefabricated mortar. Since the famous exposition of MoMA in New York in 1932, I mentioned it yet, the image of the white cubes is quite current up to date. But these cubes were not white. They were mostly slightly yellow, they were mostly slightly yellowish, pigmented by scent color. The facade coating of lime, for technical reasons, contains almost always some fine scent. The facade was maintained between 1930 and 1985 at least 4 times. Lime wash was used for this maintaining. The pigmenting of the lime wash was changing. And in 1931, the same hue was used for this as the original. And then the later paints were done in bright ochre and then brownish ochre. So you see the section and also in the cell. The covering of 1985 consisted of cement slab in resin-containing paint with sand. Yeah, you see, well, the projections are very good. But you have seen it before. The sand in the final, in the recent, the recent covering. It's not so bad from the point of color of hue and also from the surface structure. So this resin-containing paint is not permeable for water in liquid form, and so the condensation, which takes place nearly every night, it takes place behind the surface. When drying out by evaporation, the salts were deposited behind the surface, and so the surface containing resin was detached. And the later maintenance layers, you see them grayish and served somewhat as a buffer layer. So the original surface was quite well preserved to some extent. According to the cleaning technology, it has been shown by our that the normal cleaning methods, for instance by microcycling, didn't work, so we had damages. So the only way to do it properly was micro-scissors, pneumatic micro-scissors. And turned out that this color is not just dirt, but it is gypsum, the result of the conversion of the binding medium, the lime, into gypsum. And we did some compresses, as you may see here. And the result is, as you may see here, is that the color turned to be the original one. And this is the first sample for a final protective covering with lime paint. The complementary investigations I mentioned, we did in the fair area on an architecture of Pavillana. Here we found out that Mr. Roy used directly these kind of surface, this craft edition, and this is the only building he did like that. And whereas, for instance, in the Bauhaus we had a smooth surface, more or less smooth, which is a sample done by a scientist. So this was different to the way how they did it. We had problems, and Thomas Nelson was working in this studio, was a local conservator, and how to transform the first samples into big scale of these 2,000 square meters of the facade. And turned out this was this pragmatic needle hammer, and they tried to do the paint with different materials mixed with lime, kaolin, and other materials, but it was not satisfying. But this, the conservator did perform a proposition I elaborated, that not to destroy the original surface of this staircase, but detaching, like in mural painting, stucco amasello it is called, and it was deposited in a little housing, and then the terrace was restituted its stability, and finally the wall, the plastering was reapplied, and then the wall behind was rebuilt. Other ways of cleaning didn't turn out very sensitive. For instance, this essay with ice blast didn't work out very well. So finally, the conservator restorer, and this was a real pleasure for me, he asked me for expertise, and finally he asked me for cooperation, and I was finishing in 2 minutes for cooperation, and we did it together. And you see here the cleaning with microcissel, and also the cleaning with compresses of ammonium carbonate, and the mixing of the lime wash, which the technical problem was that the original plastering was not very porous, it's quite high hydraulic, and so it was very important to have these little sand grains in it to get enough quality. And this was the area where we did the pilot work, and this is the end of the pilot work. And here you see the original surface of the facade, not touched. And you may ask yourself why our paint is brighter than the original. The answer is that lime, if it is aging, the crystals get bigger, then the lime appears darker. So, because of light refraction, and therefore you have to produce always a brighter lime paint to adjust it to the original. And here you see the results of the final work, and the craftsmen were very pleased about this work. One of them told me even, "You have given back me my own profession." So this is the way it happens, that the conservators develop the craft tradition of repair. They like this work. And just to find about the interior wall, just shortly, this was also like a marble surface, and it was done like the preparation of a panel paint. So it was first painted and then smoothed, and we saw, and this was interesting. This is the original surface, and we found out that it was also pigmented with these fine grains of the sand. So, and this is the reconstruction we did, and we should say some words in a minute about the relation of space and interior, which is so important. And it turned out that some features of the lost interior furniture was found. Some parts of the semicircular wall were found in the former party cell of the SS, in the Hauptquartier Gestapo, in the building of the law faculty. And they will be restituted. And a lot of original furniture are still in the hands of the family, and some of them, like this one, I have found in the Dorotheum in Wien, so in the auction house, and I found a sponsor to pay the consignor. And the will of the expert commission and the will of the family also is that these original furniture should come back into the house. So because really it be a somewhat awkward association if a visitor of the renovated and restored house, so it looks as if nothing had happened.